What's going on, everyone? It is the Gym Lords podcast. My name is Alex Hormozi, and I'm one of the many hosts that we have here. I have a very special guest with us today, Wesley Smith, CEO of Juggernaut Training Systems and many other companies that he has, which we're going to dive into today. Lots of fun stuff to cover. Chad, just before we get started, where can people follow you on the gram, on YouTube? Where can people follow your stuff?
Well, thanks for having me, Alex. At Chad Wesley Smith is my personal Instagram, at Juggernaut Training, and Juggernaut Training Systems YouTube as well, and jtsstrength.com is our website.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much. And I will personally say that Chad is one of the strongest motherfuckers out there. And I had the privilege of being able to train and attend a seminar at his facility in Southern California. And it was an awesome time. I actually came with Greg Knuckles, who I was living with, who was my roommate at the time. And so we had a wonderful experience and even a Halloween party, if I'm not.
Yeah.
That got a little rowdy. If you can take the audience back and give I'd say up until maybe 4 years ago, 2-minute background of who you are and what got you into this to get going.
Yeah. So as far as my background, I was a track athlete in college, then I was 2-time national champion for small colleges, NAIA. And right out of college, got a private investor to help us open Juggernaut Training Systems in 2009. So I graduated college in May 2009, wrote a business plan in June 2009, got an investment in July 2009, keys to a warehouse August, and opened in September. So a whirlwind, everyone back then saying, "Oh, you're so brave to open a business in a financial crisis." And I was like, I don't know what that means. So, okay. But started as, all in-person sport performance coaching, athletes of all sorts. Then in 2010, wrote the Juggernaut Method, which, was just an ebook at the time. And this was, as weird as it probably sounds to people now in 2021, but that was some revolutionary shit back then that I was a power lifter. So I stayed competing in track for 1 year, and then my coach had passed away. So I was kind of without a coach, and I was like, well, I'm already strong, so I'll start doing powerlifting. Started doing that. And in terms of powerlifters putting out ebooks in that sense, it was like me and Jim Wendler. It was 531, 531 and Juggernaut Method were sort of the thing. Back then, late 2010, and as that went and was selling very well, I sort of saw, okay, well, I don't have to pay rent to sell this ebook. And here,
how many copies did you sell? Just out of curiosity, for context for everyone who's listening, because I think it might be useful for them to understand. Because I bought both of those books that you just referenced. I was a Jug Method purchaser. I think I also got the Excel sheet. I don't know if that was an upsell or whatever, but I had that and the book. And anyway, I noticed it was 5 times more volume than the volume I was doing at the time. And I was like, this is why I'm weak.
A specific number, maybe 10,000 copies, something like that.
Crazy.
I don't remember the too specific. It seems like a lifetime ago.
Yeah.
But
a lot of copies, though, for everyone who's listening. 10,000 copies is a lot of copies at $30 or $50. You can do the math, and it's just selling air. So he saw his gym and he was like, huh, that's neat. So we still had the gym there, our first location, until 2012. And at that point, I was just wanted to put more attention to the online side of things. So moved out of the gym space, still sublet from another place, kept training just football players, but really started pushing the online side of Juggernaut. And again, this is still very, we're now nine years ago. The fitness space, powerlifting in particular, is so much different than powerlifting. Was so much smaller. CrossFit was becoming more popular. So in 2012, September 2012, when I moved out of our first gym location, our website was getting maybe 25,000 unique visitors a month. Fast forward to September 2013, it's at 250,000 unique visitors a month. In that year, I had lifted a lot of heavy weights, and that was part of it, but we started recruiting a lot of different authors, doing seminars all over the country. Pretty much anyone who wanted me to come and talk about how to squat, bench, and deadlift better at their gym, I was there. A lot of red-eye flights, a lot of long weekends. Then in 2013, I want to say, hired Greg Knuckles, became our
our content director continued to grow and grow and grow, probably pushing that up to maybe 550, 600,000 unique visitors a month at the peak, when we were writing a lot of articles with probably 50 different contributing authors, some writing, every other week, some once a year type of thing, producing more ebooks, helping other authors kind of organize things in that space, but still very powerlifting focused. Then went back into having another gym, which is a longer story than we could probably even cover here. Not something that I particularly wanted to do. I had a partner who was supposed to come and kind of run the day-to-day. I just wanted the gym space as like a studio for YouTube and to host meets and host events like seminars and everything. Then he sort of fell out on that once I had already signed a lease. So I was like, well, I have it and I don't want it, but we'll do it until the lease is up. So did that from 2014 to 2017. All along that time as well, we tried to start a supplement company. It was kind of meh.
I didn't know that you did that.
Yeah, grind, sports nutrition. We did a little bit with the guys from RP. When we got into that, I was like, well, we sell a lot of coaching and books and apparel. It'll just be like selling another, program. And it's not. It's its whole own industry and one that I was kind of like, this is not for me. So much of our principle-based information, when that came to supplements, it's like, okay, well, here's these really basic, not sexy things that work. Well, do you want to buy them now?
Yeah.
And so that was, a lesson I'm sure we'll talk more about. And then in summer 2018, I started working with another powerlifter named Garrett Blevins on this expert system, artificial intelligence, taking my coaching logic and being able to bring it to the masses. And then in December of 2020, we released the Juggernaut AI app, which is our patent pending expert system, artificial intelligence strength training programs, where it creates the most individualized program really possible. I mean, more so than a human coach could honestly do over the long term, because no one is going to track that much data about every lifter that they coach. And now, so we've got powerlifting and power building in that system, 2 more apps in the works, and then additions and updates on these ones. So just pretty pumped on doing that. So yeah, now the robot, the Chadbot, writes the programs. I make a couple of YouTube videos here and there, and train maybe 10 really high level guys out of my garage, and that's about it.
Well, sweet. So right now, would you say that all of your attention is on Chadbot, the expert app? Are all of the efforts that you have directed towards growing that app singularly?
All the Juggernaut related stuff. I do like some real estate investing outside of that, but yeah, Juggernaut related stuff. It's let's make the app as great as we can, add all the different systems, improve the user experience, and get more people using it, and then get them to use it longer.
What's the offer, just for the audience, if you guys are interested? What's the offer for somebody to sign up who's new to the app?
Yeah, Juggernaut AI app. They can try it for 2 weeks free through juggernautai.app. And again, it's completely customized powerlifting or power building training that adapts with their feedback. The initial program it creates is about 10 quadrillion variations to it. And then every day, their questionnaire is going to keep adapting it intra-session, session to session, week to week, month to month, the most
intra-session.
Yeah.
So if you're having a shit day, it'll start down regulating. Like someone waits for the next set.
Yeah.
Super.
Yeah. So pre-session, they do a short questionnaire. How'd you sleep? How sore are you? That manipulates that day's session. And then as they're rating RPEs of their sets, it'll increase weights, decrease weights, add sets, remove sets, and then end of session, how hard was today? So that pre-session questionnaire, intra-session performance, post-session questionnaire, tomorrow's pre-session questionnaire is creating like this running average of readiness for them. And that it keeps manipulating our volume landmarks, minimum effective volume, maximum recoverable volume. And those numbers and the relationship between them sort of informs all the decisions.
Super cool. So how many users do you guys have right now since you launched in December?
We have 7,500 monthly active users.
So cool. Congratulations. That's awesome. What's the app cost?
before any discounts or anything from like coupon code type of stuff, it's $35 a month.
Super cool. That's awesome, man. Congratulations.
Thank you.
So, let's wind back the clock. All right. So, you launched right on the heels of the Great Recession, right, or in the thick of the Great Recession, and you were able to be successful with the gym, from what I understand, and even more successful with the online business. What do you think was the primary contributor to that success? Because there's a lot of other people who also started gyms and probably tried to do some things online and probably weren't as successful as you were. So what do you think the differentiator was?
The in-person gym business, we were actually, breaking even, turning a small profit after about 6 months. And if the listeners couldn't hear my air quotes when I said a business plan, my business partner and I were both straight out of college. I wasn't a personal trainer or anything before. I was a high school football and track coach. So, but we opened in the fall, so all my football players were playing football then. They couldn't come and train at the gym. So we started this gym with 0 clients. And it was really, and I still think is, the in-person gym business is a relationship-driven business. So we were out there, pounding the pavement, going to club sports events, and then doing the best job we could with all of our clients and taking care of them. And this word of mouth grew that enough for it to be, fairly successful. But I would not consider myself by any means an expert in the in-person gym business. I don't feel like I was a particularly good businessman in that regard. I can coach the hell out of people, but scaling that business was not something that I was particularly successful with. I could have done that job for the rest of my life and, had a fine house and all that kind of stuff. But the online part of things, even that regard, I don't know that I consider myself like this great marketer or anything. There, we just really created valuable content for, our audience. We were sort of the first people to come out and say in the powerlifting world, like, hey, maybe this West Side thing isn't the best to do. And, we weren't saying that we weren't being controversial for the sake of being controversial. And this is how we train, this is how we coach people. And it resonated with people. And we're just very consistent doing that, producing high quality, valuable content for our audience. And they appreciated that. And we continue to grow and grow with that. And then, now fast forward to the Juggernaut AI stuff, I feel like we have something that's pretty revolutionary from a product standpoint that beginners to super advanced lifters are having great success with, and something that we're going to continue to improve.
So, I mean, me listening from an outside of, observational perspective, it seems like you were very product focused, even with the initial website. You first started saying like, we made valuable content, like we provided value, and that was, it's product driven from that standpoint. Did you, for increasing the traffic on the site, what was the primary strategy there beyond creating high quality content? Was there anything else that did you do, like, affiliate stuff? Did you run ads? Did you, do email drops on other people's lists? What was the primary way that you wanted to increase the amount of views and impressions?
Yeah, it was really just the first way, it was completely organic. We built our own list, like, all right, we created some opt-in free ebook type of things, but I never did any other affiliate stuff. People were always kind of trying to talk to me about different ones. I was like, I don't know. I don't like how that sounds. So we didn't do it. Yeah. It was really just purely organic. We wrote articles that people were interested in within within our niche community. Like, some of them had, that were pretty viral, I suppose, within that niche community. But yeah, that was really the whole focus, is how can we help our audience reach their goals, coaches, lifters, physical therapists, all that stuff. We're providing content within powerlifting, weightlifting, CrossFit, all those spaces.
And during that chapter, the primary, monetization mechanism was apparel and coaching products. I'll put it that way. Is that accurate?
Yeah, ebooks and online coaching, apparel. I've never been great at selling apparel either, but we do okay.
So what was the impetus to go from that to doing the software? Like, what was because like something had to, did you get tired of it? Was it like you wanted more? Like, what was the reasoning?
Yeah, I mean, there's just no way. We were doing like the club coaching, subscription coaching models that a lot of people do, where they're sending out the same program for, however many users they have. And as we got more and more into scientific principles of strength training, the book I co-authored with Mike Isertel and James Hoffman, so much of it was about individualization. We're given these seminars and teaching in the seminars how to individualize training for themselves, for athletes that they coach. I got more and more frustrated with that kind of club coaching model, but there, what other way was
right.
there to do it? We had 3 tiers of coaching we were offering at that point. We had our club, which was, just a 3-day program or a 5-day program, pick your flavor there. Then we had what we called team coaching, where I'd written a bunch of different templates, and it was individualized by type. Let's say that we had kind of advanced, beginner, intermediate, lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, male, female program. So that extent they could get individualized. And we had the one-on-one, which was as individualized as it could be. But that still just left me wanting more. I knew that there was a better way to go about it. I mentioned those volume landmarks, MEV, MRV. That's something that we're always talking about in seminars, and people are, well, how do I find my MRV? How do I find my MRV? And I explain, all right, this, when you're bigger, you're stronger, your MRV goes down. You're, more advanced, your MEV goes up, your MRV goes down. And I explain these concepts in seminars, and then people would still, but what's mine? Tell me my numbers. So after getting that question enough times, I was like, there's a way for me to, give a great estimate to what their numbers would be. So I just started refining this scale system of all these individual differences. What makes it go up? What makes it go down? What's the magnitude that each affects it? And once I got through that process and could refine, a very good estimate for people, then I realized almost every coaching decision that I make is tied to those numbers and the relationship between those numbers. So how do we create a system around that? And, through several hundreds of hours of work, we came out with Juggernaut AI on the other side of that.
Super cool. And so this emerged out of the frustration that the more and more you were talking and teaching about it, the more you felt at odds with the operational limitations of your existing business model.
Yeah. And as a whole, I mean, I get frustrated still looking at the marketplace as a whole, that almost everyone is just selling a cookie cutter template or a PDF. And that's a problem that I contributed to for a long time. Juggernaut method 2.0, cube method, all that kind of stuff. So if you have these set, a fixed program, sets and reps on a page, it doesn't change. So if you and I go and do the same program, we might not have the same needs. I might not have the same needs now as I do a year from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, 10 years from now. So if, me and my mom both signed up for the same program, why should we do the same training? But so many people were willing and are still willing to accept that. And that's something that, that I'm trying to break people's mind of.
I think it's really cool. I mean, if we look at the future of tech in general, it's consistently going to go towards speed and individualization, right? And so the fact that you were leaning and doubling down on how can I get this to adjust in real time, and how can I get it to adjust to this individual so that they can have a unique experience. And I think the point that you made about it being superior to any coach is a really cool one. And this is one of the things that I think a lot about, which is a lot of the services that exist right now, humans are going to have a hard time. There's a buddy of mine that has a copywriting software, and in the last 8 months, they went from 0 to 25,000 users, and it's a $300 a month platform. And so, he's got already probably a $200 million enterprise. And it's because it actually writes pretty good copy. Yeah. And so there's all these very highly skilled people who spent years learning how to write copy, but a machine has read multiple orders of magnitude more copy than any marketer possibly could, yeah, and already has real-time data on what is converting and what is not converting right now. And so it is going to create, even if you may not like it, probably a better solution. And in over the next 10 years, it'll be unbeatable. And so that's where it gets really interesting. So, so what's right now is your plan for growing the app?
The scale of the market is a bit tough because we are still providing powerlifting coaching, which is way bigger than it was 10 years ago when I started powerlifting, or 11 years ago, but is certainly not general fitness. The general fitness space is something I'm not interested in being in. That's never been what I was passionate about. So our growth up to this point to 7,500 users has been all organic. That's just from our social media traffic, our email list, even without running ads. So we're only just beginning that process now of ads and getting some other marketing partners out there. And then as we add more systems to it, weightlifting, super total, some general strength and conditioning stuff, then we have 2 separate apps. The one in production right now will start out as strength and conditioning for jiu-jitsu, which is something I've been doing for the strength and conditioning coaching part for about 12 years now. That will eventually add on MMA, strength and conditioning, boxing, wrestling, all combat sports in one app, and then another endurance training app where we're working with another coach who's a PhD in sport physiology with his emphasis in endurance sport. So that'll be from the concurrent type of training.
Is it Alex Viada?
No, it's his name is Jacob Gooden, Dr. Jacob Gooden. He's a professor at Point Loma down in San Diego. So that'll be everything from the concurrent training of I want to run a 5-minute mile and deadlift 500 kind of thing to 1 mile to 100 miles of running, sprint, try to Ironman, lifting programs to complement that. So both of those, I think, get into bigger potential audiences. Something like 2.6 million people ran a marathon in 2018, I think. So,
then you're competing with Nike Plus or the MyFitnessPal, Track Your Run, Map Your Run.
And the endurance stuff is nice because it has so many really useful technological integrations to it, and having a heart rate monitor and that kind of thing for a endurance athlete, that's like having a weightlifting belt for a powerlifter. They all have that, where the technology pieces for the strength training side of things, like velocity based training, that can be really useful. That's something we're going to integrate, but people are asking about, what about my Apple Health? How do we integrate that? And it's like, you're powerlifting, like your heart rate doesn't really tell us very much here. But yeah, so, as just continue to add systems, I think we can end up 30 to 50,000 monthly active users with all 3 apps going full bore.
So let me ask you a question about that. What was the thought process behind making 3 separate apps rather than one app that had all 3 pieces?
I think the audiences are so much different. The way that the programs are structured are quite different. Like the strength and conditioning for combat sports stuff, they would be lost in what the nuance and intricacy of the powerlifting training.
Because that is their sport rather than their
exactly
their sport, right?
Yeah. So we would have almost had to have like different user interfaces within the same app. So I just don't think it would have been really feasible.
Are you using the same developers for all 3?
Yeah.
Super cool. So how many developers do you have on the team right now?
Just 2 full-time right now.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And, probably add 2-3 more next year.
Super cool. Yeah. We have some experience with that. We grew our dev team to up to 18 guys.
Wow.
I can talk to you offline at the end of the podcast. Definitely have some lessons that we've learned along the way in building that software. But super cool, man. So right now, have you thought about doing any kind of white labeling of those things for coaches and trainers and gym owners, people who are, because I would imagine, one of the hardest things that happens, like I'll give you a totally tangential example. So the wealth advisor that I work with, he had a come to Jesus moment like 15 years ago when he realized that indexes and kind of picking indexes overall was a better strategy than trying to stock pick. And it was more efficient tax wise, all that kind of stuff. And so he, ended up transitioning all of his clients to doing that. And now, 15 years later, he manages $5 billion. And he's very successful doing that because he aligned with the principles. And so I wonder, because like if I had a coaching roster of clients, I would probably just say, I think that ethically, if I'm going to best serve them, I want them to have, I want to be able to give them the best product. And if the best product is made by a machine, then I would try and figure out a way that I could align with that rather than counteract it, because at least for me, I would try and align with what I think is going to win out in the end.
Yeah, white labeling it for other coaches and something is something we have talked about. At this point, we don't have near the development team we would need to try and do that. And it's such a intensive process that if they wanted to use the same coaching logic that I use, that would be very simple. They'd just be making the same app then and putting their own name on it. But chances are they have their way that they want to coach, their decision-making process. So then we have to, start at maybe not ground zero, but close to it in terms of let's, create these scales and magnitudes to every decision that another coach makes, and they have to have the understanding of all of their decision-making process to do that, which I don't think that there's a lot of coaches that do. So, as we look at kind of competitors in our space, Garrett, my partner, he's more concerned than I am typically about, kind of everything, but more concerned about other companies trying to copy us. And in the powerlifting space, I think about it and I was like, well, first they have to want to do it. They have to think that this is a superior model than just the one-on-one coaching they're doing or the templates or whatever that they deliver. They have to feel passionate about that this is a better way to do things than templates. Then they have to be able to do it, which is a twofold thing. They have to be able to design their own system and pay for it to be developed. And everyone, I think, falls short on at least one of those three areas. Some of the people that maybe could pay for it, they probably don't care to do it or wouldn't understand how to do it. And the people who understand how to do it probably couldn't pay for it, or the people who care to do it.
Yeah.
One of them is lacking. So
understood.
Maybe it's something we've talked about with like other sport areas, like more sport performance type of training for, if someone wanted to do it for speed training or football or basketball or something like that. But right now we're just kind of happy doing our thing and developing it as well as we can.
Super cool. I can dig it. I can understand that it's the thought process behind it. So let me zoom out for our listeners. So what have been some of if you had to boil down 3 to 5 lessons that you could have told yourself way back in the day, or that you've learned as an entrepreneur? Because I would imagine that you've learned a lot of things through the process of going from gym to selling ebooks and coaching online, templatized, to supplements, a brief foray in the supplement world, to reopening or sort of having a half facility, right? To then transitioning to creating and then selling the app right now. I'm sure you've had different size teams throughout that process. I'm sure you've had to manage probably a big cater of coaches, and then also probably a lot fewer of them. Like because a lot of the people that are listening to this are business owners, and they have teams of coaches. And so I'm sure that the lessons that you have learned throughout this process would be valuable for them. So what lessons do you think that you've learned that have been impactful for you?
The biggest thing for me has been to grow vertically rather than horizontally, from a business standpoint, not a physical standpoint, only horizontal growth at this point. But, when we had a time in there where we've got the gym, we're doing online coaching, and we're doing apparel, and we're doing supplements, and we're doing subscription, premium content. And it's like, we've had 5-6 different things going, and I was just doing sort of a shitty job of all of them. And then I was like, we're good at coaching and content. Let's just do that. Let's take those to 10 rather than having 5 or 6 things at, a 2 to a 4. So that's probably the most impactful one for me, is to grow vertically, not horizontally, and in that, like, embrace your strengths and just keep pushing those strengths. Whether you can bring someone else into your team to focus on the areas where you're lacking, that's going to be big, but depending on what scale you want to take things to, I think if you're just doing a great job with what you're good at, that you can go pretty far with that.
Problem is that most people suck at the things they think they're good at.
Well, I guess then the other lesson is self-awareness. When I started Juggernaut, my partner at the start, he and I were college track teammates. Nate Winkler, was with me from 2009 to 2012. We complemented each other very well in many regards to the business. So being self-aware, being reflective and objective about what your strengths and weaknesses are, and being able to set your ego aside to bring other people in who do things better than you in certain areas is a key aspect. We talk about a Juggernaut would say, integrity, introspection, and innovation, that we're trying to act with integrity in all facets of our business, that we constantly want to be assessing what could we do better, and as we search to find answers to what we could do better, to be innovative in our processes for that.
So what would you say your role is with your part? Because I occupy more or less the same space in every one of the companies that we own, in terms of my role within the company. So I'm typically the acquisition monetization guy. What would you say your role is within the business? Well, now you're just singularly focused on this, but what would you say your role has been compared to your partner?
Yeah, so it was Nate and I doing our thing with the in-person gym at the start of things, and then from 2012 to 2019, I was on my own, and then now with Juggernaut AI, Garrett has come along with that side of things. Garrett created the patent pending expert system artificial intelligence side of it, and then we took.
Is he like a coder more, or is he more like like decision tree matrix? So he has a coding background. He understands that side of it.
So more of the decision tree matrix organization, workhorse, 100 spreadsheets that all communicate with each other, tedious. This table that has 5,000 cells to it, and that side of things, and where he's also much more like detail oriented, more risk averse than I am on the business side of things. So that I think we complement each other well there. Where I'm obviously bringing the coaching logic, more of the personality, the upfront personality stuff, and then the Juggernaut side of things, the audience I've spent 12 years building.
Got it. So you're more probably the visionary in this dynamic, and he's more the integrator operator of the thing. So who runs the team?
We both do. I mean, he's more on the overseeing our customer service side of things, and then he and I both have our roles with our app developers.
How many teammates do you have right now?
Just the two developers, me and Garrett, 5 other coaches, 12.
Wow. So what do the coaches? So with the AI, what do the coaches do now?
So we still have one-on-one coaching that we offer, and then when our weightlifting AI system, Olympic lifting. Max Ada, our weightlifting coach, that will be based on his coaching logic. So I just kind of help him organize his process into his own system.
So what would you say? So you have coaches, which this is great for you because I think you'll have good context on this. I have strong thoughts about this, but I'm curious what your input is. What do you see the role of the coach, because you do have one-on-one coaching, what do you see the role of the coach looking like in 5 years?
I in our specific case, it's probably going to be like a guided AI. A lot of people, they want one-on-one coaching for a personal connection, to have someone that can watch their videos and answer their questions and tell them it's going to be okay when they had a bad day, or pump them up, or, you know, talk to about their problems, or my significant other doesn't understand and they're not being supportive enough. There's a lot of amateur therapist role that one-on-one coach has to play.
Yeah, all coaching businesses.
Yeah. So I think that'll be a big piece of it. Like, let the system make the program. The individual coach makes some quick adjustments that, you know, the program can only take into account very quantifiable data about the person.
Yeah.
Height, weight, experience, strength,
right.
All that kind of stuff. We don't have
HRV incorporated in the program. Is HRV incorporated or no?
No, not currently. That is probably something that will get added to the daily readiness. Mm-hmm. But even that tends to be like a lagging indicator. It's good for like group trends, but on the individual basis, it's a little tough. But, you know, even something like limb proportions, let's say, asking on a questionnaire, do you have long arms or short arms, can be very subjective for the person. Or you have, you know, long legs and short torso, or vice versa. Having some kind of body scanner, you know, short of that, there's things where it's tough for me to trust the user's objectivity and some of their feedback. But when a coach gets on a video and looks at their technique, you know, then they can identify some, all right, this exercise can be better, or the client can say, hey, this has worked well for me in the past. That can be something where an individual human coach can expedite the process of the AI getting where it needs to be.
Understood. Yeah, and for most of the people who are listening to this, most of our gym owners and personal trainers who are listening, you know, we've been very adamant, you know, at Gym Launch, that the role of the coach is to rise above the workout, right? It's to really be the concierge that's really like kind of like their health go-to of like, hey, and mind you, you are in a niche of people who are, I would say, very serious about their training. The vast majority of our network coaches, Susie Luhu, who's on her second baby and just considers it a win if she shows up at the gym 3 days a week. Yeah. And so within the context of that, for everyone who's listening, I think the part that Chad alluded to at the end there is probably worth 5 times its weight in salt of the high fives, the emotional support, the encouragement, the accountability to just make sure they showed up to the gym, and making sure that the win is that they did it, rather than necessarily how well they did it, which you normally push an athlete or pull back, or have to be a little bit more granular in terms of the detail of how you're coaching someone. So I think that's worth delineating for the audience. But Chad, absolutely super impressed with what you've accomplished. I think I've been a fan of all the work that you've done. I think I've been a customer. I bought the Cube Method. I bought Jug 1 and 2.
All right.
I have I regularly read a lot of the articles, and when I was roommates with Greg Knuckles, I also am one of the contributors on your site, and just a general fan of how you've approached everything. And so kudos to you, man. So thank you for taking the time to hop on the Gym Lords podcast. I know that our audience definitely appreciates it. And just one more time for everyone else who's listening, where can they find, maybe do a free trial of the app, and then where they can follow you on YouTube and Instagram?
Yeah, so juggernautai.app, if they want to do the free trial, 2-week free trial in there. Then at Juggernaut Training, jtsstrength.com, Juggernaut Training Systems YouTube, and then mine is at Chad Wesley Smith.
Rock and roll. Well, thank you so much, Chad. Appreciate you hopping on, and it's been a pleasure.
Thanks, Alex.